Hello out there, and we're doing a first look today at the Spyderco Caribbean Salt, and this is a really unique knife that was delayed for a long time. Actually was announced at SHOT Show of 2017, I believe, and finally just hitting the market now, the week of Blade Show. This knife was actually delivered to me as I was on the way out the door to Blade Show, and I have to get it back in the mail to my buddy the Lawn Ranger because this knife actually belongs to him. So I want to do a quick overview and take a look at this knife because it is a unique one, guys. It is really cool if you're into large knives and you need something that's corrosion resistant and still lightweight. Just a very cool piece. And let's go through all the details and talk about some of the things that make this a little bit unique. Now, when we're thinking about the Salt line, the first thing that we think about is H1 steel. And this one is different. It has LC200N. So you have a different steel, still very corrosion resistant, still going to be pretty much guaranteed not to rust. So that is a big plus. And we do have 4 configurations for this knife. All 4 have the same handle, but we do have a sheep's foot, which this is with the plain edge. There's a sheep's foot serrated. There is a leaf-shaped blade that's serrated and a leaf-shaped plain edge. So 4 different options for you to choose from. My understanding is that when it comes to H1, that the serrated blades actually hold their edge a lot longer. I don't think that matters so much with LC200N, but I've heard that LC200N just in general is a better steel for edge retention than H1. No experience with it myself, so I'm not 100% sure of that. 2 other things that make this a very unique knife for the Salt series is, one, it has a compression lock instead of a back lock like you see on like the Salt knives, the Atlantic, the Pacific, the Dragonfly Salt. Just about everything that they do is going to be a back lock, but this one a little bit different. And also, it has G10 handle scales versus FRN, which most of the Salt line has. And don't quote me on this, but I do think it's the first time that they've used G10 in the Salt line. They still managed to make it yellow, which is pretty neat. We'll talk about this G10 though, because that is a huge selling point for this knife, just the way that they did this and some of the quality that you see there. But the first thing, I think, when you're looking at this knife and just the way that it fills the frame, the first thing you're going to think about is the size. This is a big knife. It is outside of my general favorability, let's say. It's a little bit bigger than what I would usually want to carry. Seeing that I've just recently gotten into carrying paramilitary 2s, and that's been more agreeable for me lately. This is significantly bigger than that. Looking at the cutting edge, it is about 3.75 inches. Like I said, LC200N steel. The overall length runs right around 8.5 inches. So if we're looking at the paramilitary 2 and the dimensions of it, the cutting edge is significantly, let me see if I can get this lined up and still in frame. The cutting edge is significantly longer on the Caribbean, and the overall length is about 1/4 of an inch longer. So you do have all that extra handle that the paramilitary 2 is known for, but the Caribbean here, just a bigger knife. And one of the other dimensions, and let's see if we can really get this focused. One of the other dimensions where it's a bigger knife is the height, both in the open and closed positions. You can see just a little bit of blockiness. And for a knife this size, I don't think that's such a bad thing. I think that's what you would expect, but it is still something that I want to note. Looking at the thickness of the knife, the liners, and we're going to talk about the liners because the liners are so cool on this knife. Man, but it actually isn't very thick at all. You know, it's a little bit thicker than the paramilitary 2, so it's not a chunky knife in that regard. So I think for just getting a bigger knife in your hands for someone who's maybe using it out on a boat or just in like a saltwater environment or just anywhere where it's humid, I mean, this is going to be a good piece and not too, not too overbearing in terms of like the bulkiness of it. So that's cool. Definitely a plus there. Getting into the weight of the knife, again, for the size, I think it's really, really good. 4.18 ounces. Can't argue with that. Taking a look at the paramilitary 2 again, just another good reference, 3.87 ounces. So you're talking about 1/4 of an ounce more, if that. Yeah, not even, and just all that extra blade length. So a very light knife for what it is. Now let's just take a look at the knife up close. Really nice blade shape. I like the sheep's foot. Could make this into some kind of like even a rescue knife, like a marine rescue knife maybe, if that's something that you might need it for. Just a lot of applications that you could use this knife for, and EDC is definitely one of them too. Nice flat grind on this knife. Really, really attractive blade. I think as the blade shapes go, it's excellent. There is jimping on it. This is made in the Taiwan factory, and one of my qualms, my few qualms about the Tai Chung Spydercos is that the jimping usually isn't very good. In this case, the jimping is excellent. I mean, it's very, very good and grippy, grabs the thumb immediately, so I'm happy with that. I do wish there was just a little bit more coming right up to maybe here where the actual grind starts. Another 1/4 inch of it would give you just a little bit better purchase. But otherwise, yeah, not really a big deal. Then as we move on back, you can see we have basically an open frame construction here. We have G10, and it is basically, it's 2 layers of G10. It's yellow and black. And when we talk about the inside of the knife, I'll talk about the rest of it. But what this does is it gives you all these like little ribs that are excellent ergonomically. They're not sharp, just dozens of points of contact to help give you good grip. So impressed with this knife ergonomically, and they had to do something with the G10 because, you know, the FRN handle scales are just so good and grippy and excellent for ergos, and they found a way to make the G10 rival that, and so, you know, make this offering a Assault Series knife that's still just as good in hand as the other ones, but has G10 instead. So yeah, well done. Well done. Minimalist in terms of body screws. When we're looking at the standoffs here, the standoffs are actually made of corrosion-resistant metal as well. And I think that means that everything is. I think that means all the hardware is, the screws and the pivot as well. Don't quote me on that 100%. I tried to look into it, couldn't figure it out, but yeah, that's really what I think. The pocket clip is titanium. It is reversible, but tip up only. And yeah, now let's talk about the compression lock, the lockup, and the inside of the knife real quickly. It's awesome. It's the best thing about the knife. The liners are LC200N as well, so they are corrosion resistant as well, which is awesome. The action on it, it's still breaking in, but it is super smooth. Might have to pick this up for a quick second and show you. So yeah, I mean, it's breaking in, but it's opening and closing really well. The lockup is nice. Happy with that. But now I'm gonna have to turn on a flashlight, but we are gonna look inside and let's see if we can get a good look. Maybe a little bit too bright. All right, but maybe you can see inside there, right? The liners, it looks like the liners are milled, and they are, but what that is, it's all flat. Maybe without the, yeah, maybe it's actually better without the flashlight, but it's actually all flat. And if you see in there, what that means is that the G10 was milled for the liners to snap in there perfectly. Really, really nice detail there. That the liners, if you take this knife apart, I mean, you'll have those little circular ridges where the G10 is raised in all those spots, so that the liners just snap in and they're perfectly, it's not even really recessed as much as it is just like extremely flush. Just excellent, excellent work by Spyderco, making this as like thin and compact and lightweight, and choosing the materials like that LC200N. Man, I wish I could give you a better look at this, but it is super cool. So this knife, when it was announced, you know, and when I saw it at the price point of $165, I thought, man, that is a little bit high. That's a little bit high for me. If it were smaller, it'd be a tougher decision because I would definitely want it if it were a smaller knife. But guys, I have to tell you, this is an awesome, an awesome piece. It's engineered beautifully. The design, the innovation, whatever they had to do to go back and take the time to make it happen this way, I'm not sure. I'd be really interested to hear the process and what the issues were and the struggle of getting the compression lock in this thing and the process of like designing the G10 to get it just this way. I would really like to know about all that stuff because it resulted with an excellent, excellent product. I can't recommend this knife enough. If you like larger knives, this might be the one for you. If you want a new and different steel, this might be the one for you. You need a salt knife, this might be the one for you. Just a really cool piece, guys, and one that I'm excited to send to my buddy, the Lawn Ranger. Hopefully he enjoys it, all right? So any other questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, as always, let me know down below. I'll be talking with you soon. Let me know your thoughts on this blade, though, all right, guys? Take care, and thank you for watching. Have a good one.